have all money be on those chips and everything on those chips. And if anybody wants to protest what we do or violate what we want, we just turn off their chip.
Hitting with a baton a man while other officers hold that man down.
Change we can believe in. I didn't say change we can believe in tomorrow.
Есть серьезное основание полагать.
Аллаху Акбар! Аллаху Акбар! Аллаху Акбар!
We saw these individuals buy or begin turning up at crime scenes in the United States and in Mexico, and yet we still did nothing.
So why was he inaccurate? Why can't we keep our health care plans if we like them?
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
Hi there, and welcome to the Fire Report. I'm your host, Dwayne Risco. Folks, tonight I have a phenomenal presentation again. Part 2, UFOs. What are they? Where do they come from? How do we know of what we're seeing is real? Folks, tonight you're going to see some phenomenal videos about UFOs in the sky. Did you ever hear about abductions? Do you know what abduction is? Where some people late at night get mysteriously invaded. They come into their rooms. They get them out in the country. They're taken away, and things are done to them. Their minds are messed up. There's evil presence. It's called alien abductions of UFOs. You're going to see some phenomenal videos today that I want you to check these things out. You know, after all, UFOs have been around for a long, long time. Christopher Columbus even documented in one of his logs that when he was going through the ocean, they looked down and here was a disc that was following Christopher Columbus's ship, and then 100 yards behind the boat, it shot up into the sky. There's reports from pilots, everyday people, even some of NASA's latest reports that they finally released in some video show these strange discs following the astronauts as they're circling the Earth. What are they? Who are they? Where did they come from? Another time dimension? Are they from another planet? Is it life somewhere out there that we just don't know about? Well, some of the videos you're going to see are some of the best videos of 2014. Also, folks, you're going to see incredible footage that you need to sit back and check out. You know, when we've researched before about alien abductions, it reminded me of demonic possession. If any of you's ever studied demonology and studied Lucifer, Satanism, you'll find out that alien abductions turn out to be the same things as demon possessions. They make people unmovable to where they're helpless. They follow voices in their heads. Without people talking, they hear voices in their heads. It's almost like demonology. Someone controlling the mind. Someone having a power to have people perform and do things that normally they wouldn't do. And then sometimes later on, they don't remember what they did. They can't connect all the dots. Something's missing in their mind. But we see these discs. We see these sightings. They break the laws of physics. They moved back and forth that just completely doesn't make sense. How is it possible? How come they haven't landed in the White House? How come they haven't landed over in Moscow? How come no one's landed in France, Australia, Greenland? How come when we hear these things from William Schreiber, remember Art Bell, and now we have George Norrie, all about these UFOs and supposedly these alien beings that NASA recovered from Roswell that are 3 or 4 feet tall. What's going on? Is this a conspiracy theory? Is it another psycho-evaluation? You know, years ago when people reported sightings of these strange objects, they were told that they needed a psychic evaluation. Many of them back in the day ended up in mental institutes. But now we find out through Project Bluebird and Project Bluebeam and whatnot, 30, 40 years later, well, some of these things come to fruition. Do I believe in UFOs? Yes. Do I believe that it's an alien race from another planet? No. Well, then how can I believe in them? Because I'm a little bit more intelligent in that area. I'm not going to explain it tonight. I want you to watch the videos for yourself. Folks, all across the world, people are seeing these sightings. They're there. They are there. We have hidden powers. We talk about the third dimension. We talk about black holes. We talk about time travel. The mind is always going farther and farther and farther, leaping out. How is it possible? How can this be the only life on planet Earth? And you mean to tell me with all these galaxies out there in the universe, we're the only ones here? No, we're not the only ones here. There are other entities out there, but they're not from another planet. They're not another, shall we say, humanoid race, but they are spirit beings that can manifest themselves. And you know where my final authority comes on that? The King James Bible. There you go again, thumping with the Bible. It is my final authority. I'll put that up against any professor anywhere in the world, any evolutionist, any Darwin knucklehead that wants to believe that stuff. But yes, UFOs are real. Yes, these entities do exist. Yes, they do abduct people. Yes, they do mysterious, strange powers. Yes, they can transform themselves into some things that will blow your mind. And yes, NASA Area 5150 has covered them up. Yes, Germany has covered things up in the North and South Pole. Yes, Russia's been involved in this. Yes, there have been crashes. And when these things do take place, they are automatically surrounded by the military. Roads are blocked off. Communications are shut down. People cannot use their phones. Cell towers are shut down. You're not going to get that information leaked out to you. I know. Another conspiracy theory? Well, if you laugh and scoff every time you hear that word, you've been programmed. You've been indoctrinated, not to search for truth. You want to be spoon-fed what the nightly news has to say. You know, after all, 3, 5, 8, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, they're all paid to tell what they want you to know. Did you ever think about that when these elites get together that own the TV stations and the newspapers, they say, run this story in Pittsburgh, run it in Cleveland, run it in Delaware, run it in Santa Barbara, run it in Dallas, run it in Houston, and we're going to put the story out. We're going to get on the nightly news, and we're going to report this stuff over and over and over. So if you tell a lie enough times, pretty soon you believe it. Aliens, UFO abductions, what do you think? Do you think there's really UFOs? Or is it a conspiracy to you? Do you think there's aliens from another planet? Or do you think they're demons? Do you think this is holograms? Do you think technology has advanced so much that we can make things appear that aren't there? Go on YouTube and check out holograms, holographic. Check it out for yourself. Do some research before you sit and laugh and scoff. You know, the easiest thing for an idiot to do, and a moron to do, and an imbecile to do is every time someone tells you something that you don't really know about and you're uneducated, you become a bobblehead and you laugh because you're programmed. UFOs, aliens from another planet, from another world, or did they break a time dimension? You remember in Luke in the Bible, shepherds were out grazing in the night. Jesus was supposed to be born in Bethlehem, and when he was born, the heavens opened up. And behold, from another time dimension, while they were looking in the sky and the stars at night, it was as if a hole in the sky opened up. and innumerable angels were all over the place. Picture these shepherds just standing there, shocked. There's no TVs, no radios, no satellites, and they're seeing something from another time dimension completely open the sky, open up the shades, pull the curtain down, and here comes angels. Did UFOs come from that same dimension? Hey, my name is Dwayne Risco. It's all about In Search of the Truth. You're watching the Fire Report. Until next time, look up. Might be more than just chemtrails watching you.
Lights up in the sky aren't really that unusual around the new year.
However, some Cleveland residents say they saw something more than your typical firework display. Eyewitness News reporter Katie McCall joins us live with the story, all new at 6. Katie?
Gina, a Cleveland woman who says she has never before spotted a UFO swears that she saw one hovering in the trees right over US 59. Now, a UFO investigator is looking into whether this was a plane, a helicopter, or something from out of this world.
Just there, like, you know, this.
On December 30th, Lauren Harris was on Highway 59 in Cleveland when a brightly lit cylinder hovering in the sky caused her to pull over.
Strange, like the lights were pulsating on it and it would disappear for a few seconds and it would reappear in the same spot. And then we noticed too that it wasn't moving at all. So we're like, no, that can't be an airplane, and over the wood. I think it was a UFO.
The nursing student says she tried to document the encounter.
I phone up like this and I tried taking a picture of it and then I put it back down and it was gone.
But never expected to be taken seriously. To her surprise, Fletcher Gray from MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, is investigating.
I have verified over 345 cases.
Gray looks into reports of extraterrestrial vehicles, alien encounters, and aircraft modeled after alien vehicles not acknowledged by the government.
This was verified by 2 independent witnesses. This is a UFO because we don't know if it belongs to extraterrestrial or if it's one of our own. Here's a lady that supposedly had a transplant where she'd been abducted. These ETs, or extraterrestrials, are moving from one star system to the next.
Gray believes a Cleveland police officer saw the same thing Harris did in Houston. His message to UFO observers, don't be afraid to speak up.
Always contact MUFON and to make their reporting, their sightings, as long as they're credible.
The police chief in Cleveland tells me he is not aware of any such sighting or dash cam video within the department. Gray says that is very common in his line of work and it will not stop his investigation. We're live in Cleveland. Katie McCall, 13 Eyewitness News.
So we would like to know what you think about this investigation. Log on to our Facebook page and join the conversation. And if you saw one of those unexplained lights, well, why don't you share your photos with Eyewitness Reports? Just email them to news@abc13.com.
cyberspace. The number of UFO sightings in Canada is soaring tenfold over the past 25 years. The majority of those flying objects eventually get identified, but a few are never explained. And that's enough to keep some sky watchers wondering if just one sighting could be real. Here's Ross Lord.
Blame it on Hollywood. But an increasing number of Canadians insist the drama surrounding unidentified flying objects is real.
There was a very bright light, and I kept watching, and it just sort of came right up, right across, just floating like it was floating.
Sort of like these images from Halifax.
What the hell is that? This is the second time I've seen it.
Fort Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, London, Sudbury.
This Winnipeg science writer has never seen one, but Chris Rutkowski works with a network of observers on an annual UFO survey.
It doesn't automatically say the aliens are invading and landing in Mississauga. What it does say, which we can't ascribe to a simple explanation.
And UFO sightings in Canada are soaring to new heights. When they started keeping track 25 years ago, there were barely more than 100 a year. Since then, a steady increase, spiking to almost 2,000 2 years ago. Last year was the second highest number on record.
Only about 14 or 15% of the cases in 2013 are unexplained.
Just enough mystery to keep UFO believers wondering.
Occasionally I've noticed things that were moving across the sky that were not planes or satellites, just a different color, a different
shape.
shape.
Advanced civilizations out there somewhere.
Maybe there's ways around the laws of physics or ways of traveling that we haven't even conceived of yet. And why they would want to come to Earth, I don't know. Might be the scenery or the weather.
Maybe the Canadian winter isn't so bad if you're watching from a safe distance.
Mysterious lights hovering in the skies across several parts of the country. This video is from Indianapolis of a strange formation that appeared this week. Now, people in Metro Detroit say they've seen something just like it. Last night, our newsroom and our Facebook page got several reports of strange lights in the skies over Metro Detroit. And tonight, Fox News' Ron Savage is on a mission to find out what they really are. Ron.
You know how we operate here. We do stories on talkers, and this is a talker. Everybody's talking about it. What are the lights in the sky? Many Metro Detroiters have been wondering, what am I seeing?
It wasn't quite as high as you would see. I've been watching the airplanes tonight, and it wasn't quite as high as them. And I mean, like I said, you could actually see the triangle shape of the object.
David Levy was outside Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. with friends in Flat Rock, and suddenly
we were outside, and up in the sky we saw a triangle-shaped light with. Or triangle-shaped object with
first, a friend? Or
I did, yes.
Yeah, what'd you say?
I asked people, what do you think that is? And everybody was like, I don't know. And then later on at night, I found out that people had been seeing this object all over.
In fact, our Fox 2 Facebook page has been blowing up with hundreds of posts, people seeing lights like Lisa. She writes, I seen some in Southgate, but thought it was fireworks and weird for January. Nick writes, I assumed they were planes. They were flying in the same direction. I watched them for about 10 minutes, and I counted 4. Writes, I seen it in East Point, off 9 Mile. It was something crazy. And Sean writes, I was the one who called into the Fox 2 newsroom and first broke this story. They were black, triangle-shaped objects making circles over West Bloomfield and Farmington Hills. There was no noise, and they had bright lights. I'm not making this up, and I know somebody else saw these things. These lights are all over YouTube. The original poster says they were shot in Miami this week. And these lights were said to be shot in Indianapolis. Is this similar to what David saw in Flat Rock?
This kind of looks like a stand in one spot, but that's exactly what it looked like, except there was 5 of them.
5 lights.
5 lights.
William Konkoleski of the Michigan Mutual UFO Network has also been taking calls from people who see lights at night all across Metro Detroit.
It's very possible that people are seeing military aircraft that they haven't notified us about yet, like the spy planes or also the stealth aircraft that have been flying on our skies now for a few years. It's well known that they were testing now. On top of all that, we have unmanned drones up in the sky, and those things really look strange, especially for somebody that has no idea what they could even be.
And certainly some people may be skeptical when they hear that somebody's reporting lights in the sky, but perhaps there is a logical explanation for some of these light displays. They've been reported all over the country and all around the calendar, all year round. It doesn't seem to be a particular time of the year when they're reported. Our Facebook page has been blowing up, as you know, recently, Huel, with a lot of people reporting these lights.
Ron, for years, the Air Force conducted an investigation of so-called UFOs. They found no official proof. Any word from the feds tonight about those strange lights?
Well, you wonder if the military's involved, as one of our UFO experts was curious there and mentioned. We did put some calls into Selfridge, the FAA. We didn't get any reaction. Could be a logical explanation for some of these light displays. I'll tell you this, there's no full moon right now, but we're getting an awful lot of reports of lights in the sky. Huel?
Certainly not a weather balloon, Ron. All right, thank you.
That's right.
Encounters of the first kind are described as up-close viewings at 600 feet or less, involving strange craft or lights that cannot be attributed to human technology. Encounters of the second kind involve physical effects seen or felt, heat or radiation, temporary paralysis, and interference with television or radio signals. The third kind is witnessing an actual being at close range. The fourth kind is physical abduction. And the fifth kind is communication, a complete reciprocal connection between an alien intelligence and a human being. Suffolk, Virginia, home to Terrell Copeland, a 25-year-old former United States Marine who has had recent encounters with pulsating orbs of light at close range. Orbs that seem to be appearing around him more and more frequently. According to Copeland, they do not appear to be military aircraft from the nearby naval base. And over the past 8 years, Terrell has had these encounters in 3 different areas: the Northwest Naval Base in nearby Chesapeake, his parents' home in Suffolk, and just outside his own apartment.
The story is larger than somebody just seeing some objects in the sky. First of all, the objects are seeing him, and they've kind of focused in on him, and that tells me there's something going on.
I joined the military in the summer of 2000. We were trained to observe. I've seen aircraft that maybe the typical civilian has not seen.
In the winter of 2000, Terrell has an experience that will change his life. Late one night at the Northwest Naval Base in Chesapeake, somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m., Terrell sees a strange object illuminating the field below it with a spotlight.
And I see a light, thinking maybe it's a chopper, but it made no noise, and it was only about 100 feet away. It went from being a yellowish light to a greenish, kind of lime color light. It was a flying saucer. It was oval-shaped.
Terrell Copeland has had a close encounter of the first kind, a first-hand observation of a UFO at less than 600 feet.
But sightings around Chesapeake Bay are not uncommon. The area is also home to the oldest UFO report in American history, written in a letter sent to Thomas Jefferson in 1813. On July 31st, 1813, Edward Hansford, owner of the Washington Tavern in Portsmouth, Virginia, described his terrifying sighting as, quote, a ball of fire as large as the sun, and the object assumed several different forms as it, quote, ascended and descended. There is no indication that former President Jefferson received this letter, but the letter still exists as proof of strange reported events in this area. Over the past 2 centuries, there has been a flurry of activity in this area. In fact, locals filed 12 reports in 2005 and 2006. On January 29, 2006, the Virginian Pilot newspaper reported, quote, formations over Virginia Beach that switched directions on a dime, massive glowing shapes, and strange triangles hovering over Suffolk. But many of the sightings are made at far-off distances. Terrell Copeland's encounters are happening at much closer range. For him, there's no mistaking these craft for human technology.
When did you make that leap into thinking that we were dealing with some other kind of technology?
I had a sighting back in 2005.
Terrell's second encounter occurs over a 3-night period at the end of October 2005, outside of his parents' home in Suffolk. On October 27th, at approximately 7 p.m., he sees a bluish orb moving across the sky. He can tell it's not a planet or a star, and when it appears again 2 nights later, on October 29th, he attempts to follow it.
I tried to chase it in my car. I was like, I want to see what this is, but it was gone. It left.
On the third night, October 31st, sometime after 11 p.m., deep in the darkness of night, the orb appears again. And this time, Terrell is ready. He follows the object in his car down Constance Road. It leads him to an empty shopping plaza. But what happens next shocks him.
The orb becomes 2 orbs. As this object moves over my head, I see that it's some type of craft that's larger than the shopping area that I'm in.
In Suffolk, Virginia, Terrell Copeland has seen a mysterious blue orb over 3 nights at the end of October 2005.
I drive up to this orb. The orb becomes 2 orbs.
By the third night, October 31st, he has followed it to an empty shopping plaza, where something incredible happens. He's about to have his second close encounter. The triangle-shaped craft hovers 500 to 700 feet above Terrell. He notices that the 2 orbs are actually lights that are part of the craft. The Virginian Pilot newspaper reports his initial reaction. Quote, "At first I thought it was a stealth," referring to the Air Force's distinctively shaped radar-evading bomber. Quote, "But I saw many types of aircraft when I was in the military, and we don't have anything this big."
Terrell has had a number of repeat sightings, all within 600 feet, close encounters of the first kind. These repeated sightings tell me there's much more to the story than meets the eye. He's being led down a path to contact.
But just a year and a half later, Terrell has a third encounter. And according to him, it was very different. On March 5th, 2007, at approximately 8:05 p.m., in total darkness, he feels that something is outside his apartment. He grabs his video camera and heads out to a shocking sight.
It was actually 2 objects out there, 25 or 35 feet away from me.
The 2 objects appeared to hover in place, and then one began to behave very strangely.
It looked like a big spear that was changing colors very violently.
A lot of people in the UFO field have said that that sequence of changing colors, it's communicating.
I believe that 100%.
What if the flashing colors were like Morse code? What if this is actually a form of communication that extraterrestrials use to make contact?
Was Terrell recording communication between the 2 objects? Or were the objects attempting to make contact with Terrell? The team will need to see the actual location to get a better viewpoint.
This is the exact spot right here, March the 5th of 2007. There was a sphere that was whitish in color right over that building right there. I look in this direction, there's another object here.
As Terrell watches, this second object emits a series of pulsating colored lights. Terrell believes that these pulsing signals were, in fact, a way for that craft to communicate with the other single-colored orb across from it. But as he moves, he notices that the multicolored object also begins to mirror his movement.
As I got in my car, it moved to a position about 30 to 50 feet above the tree line. After I finished filming the footage, the object left because, from what I could see, a military chopper was in the area.
So the helicopter comes in and these other objects leave?
Right. As I turned to look at the chopper, I look back and the object is gone.
Terrell is a former Marine. He is a trained observer. He knows all types of military aircraft. If he tells me that he had an experience that changed his life, I can believe him on that. But I do find it suspicious that we're also in an area where there is a military base nearby.
With Terrell's recurring history of close encounters, the team must get further information. His video will be sent for analysis by Dr. Ted Ackworth, while Bill and Pat further investigate Terrell's escalating experiences. After videotaping his encounter in March of 2007, he receives a visit from a strange individual.
This particular individual really didn't talk about the video at hand. They were more interested in me. They claimed to be a military contractor. They asked me a very strange question. They asked me if I was ready for the truth. And I said, sure, let's hear it. And this particular individual claimed that they have a personal relationship with extraterrestrials. What happened after this long conversation, I dozed off while reading a book. I woke up to someone trying to enter my apartment. My first instinct was to get up and grab my firearm. I clearly heard a voice in the room telling me that I don't need to grab that firearm. I could feel the book in my hands. I could feel myself sitting on the couch, but I could not move at all. After I was able to get movement of my limbs, open the door, and no one was there. After I spoke with this individual, I experienced something that I never would have dreamed of or even thought about, and that's what they call missing time. That particular night and the night after, I woke up at 3:08 a.m. I don't recall a nightmare, I just jumped out of bed. And before I could blink, my alarm clock went off and it was 5:30, time for me to get up.
It's not uncommon for UFO contactees and abductees to report missing time. These individuals consistently report being in one location at the time of the event and finding themselves at another location with no comprehension of the time in between.
Temporary paralysis, that's an indicator of a close encounter of the second kind. Missing time is an indicator of an alien abduction. That's a close encounter of the fourth kind. Is he on a path to make contact?
I'm just worried that we're just talking about a strange person here that's contacted Terrell and is kind of filling him with ideas.
Here's a case where this person is contacting you and giving you a course of study dealing with the human relationship with aliens as the ultimate goal. I've got a funny feeling that you are being recruited, and there is a branch of the government that you're being recruited for, that somehow, some way, you are a hybrid between an ET and a human.
While the notion of alien-human hybrids is highly controversial and unproven, some contactees do claim to have developed unexplained physiological disorders shortly after the reported contacts.
That's very surprising, but at the same time, not so surprising, because the reason I'm not in the military today is because I have an unknown blood disorder.
Terrell's blood disorder is a rare elevation of an enzyme called creatine kinase, which is typically released into the blood in abnormally high amounts when muscle damage occurs in the body. According to the Navy's official medical report, Terrell's CK level was tested to be as high as 2,000 UL. For normal, healthy people, this level rarely reaches above 200. But what causes this elevation of the enzyme in Terrell's blood has remained a mystery.
None of the military doctors at the time had a diagnosis. They were very baffled at it.
Because the military doctors could not find a definitive reason for the elevated enzyme, Terrell was discharged from the military after only 2 years of service. Not long after, Terrell's most recent string of sightings began.
How can you conclude that the guy is a hybrid? I mean, don't you think you're going off the deep end a little bit?
This guy is getting a course of study in how to connect with his alien self.
Listen, wait, you're not helping him. You're not helping him. You're telling him he can summon UFOs now? You're telling him he's a hybrid?
I'm not telling him.
This
He's
guy
telling
doesn't
me.
You're fanning the flames.
He's
hearing voices. He's responding to people on instant messaging. He's taking instructions from people through email. I mean, these are all big red flags, Bill. hybrids may exist, they may not, but for Bill to say that Terrell is a hybrid, I don't think it's time for that yet. He really is deep into the UFO phenomenon, and he might not be seeing that perhaps Terrell just had an experience, he has some questions, and he really needs some more objective information.
Are Terrell's early levels of close encounters a precursor to a level 5 encounter? Full alien contact? The team concludes that they need to further analyze Terrell's footage and find an answer for his rare blood disorder. As the team delves deeper into the case, Terrell undergoes testing to determine what unknown effects his blood anomaly may be having.